Good day, everybody. I want to document growing some yellow meat watermelons. Save some of the seeds from my yellow meat watermelons, and you can save the seeds from your watermelons. As a matter of fact, that is the best thing to do. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start them off in cups. Last time I just direct seeded them in the ground, and this is now March the 14th, so this is a good time to start them in trays. If you plant them directly in the ground, you're going to have to wait till the threat of this cool weather goes away in our area right now. Like it's just gotten back cool again, and sometimes we have like a winter Easter snap. So that's why it's best to plant your vegetables here in my zone 8 and probably mid April, maybe the first week of April. That way, all your danger of frost is gone, and your vegetables will germinate, your seeds will germinate real good. So, but by starting them in these trays, um, I can control the fact that they'll go ahead and germinate, and then I can just let them grow into real nice little plugs, develop a real nice good root system, and that way, in the first part of April, I can go ahead and just set the little plants out. So that's another thing we're gonna do differently this time. We're gonna get a little bit, and that'll give us a little advantage to get a little bit of a head start. Really, just gonna take about 3 seeds and just put them right under set them on the top of the dirt and just tuck them right under the surface of the peat moss. So not rocket science, but I'll come back and we'll show you how they are coming up, and then I'll come back and I'll explain the process of planting them and everything. And okay, y'all, we're back. It is April the 15th, so we're gonna go ahead and plant the watermelon seedlings. Uh, we got off to a slow start with them germinating because the weather was kind of cool. Even though I had them put them in my storage room at night, we got off to a little bit of a slow start. But once the weather warmed up, they all sprouted out. We had a pretty much 100% germination rate. So in watermelon seeds, as long as if the weather's warm and you got them in a good soil, they are very high. Uh, the germination rate on them is very high. So we're gonna put them right down this row here. Now you want to at least ideally have about 6 feet on each side for your watermelons to grow, and you want to spread them out about maybe 4 feet apart in the row. So since I got just one row and I got plenty of little plants here, I've already kind of walked it off, and I can probably fit most of these plants in here if I plant them 2 feet apart. So that's a little tight, but we're gonna keep an eye on them. We may have some to die, and if we do, then I'll be fine. We'll have plenty of room. We can always thin them out later if I feel like they're gonna be too tight. But I'd rather not do them 4 feet apart and have some die, and then I have big gaps I gotta fill in later. But biggest thing is we got plenty of room on each side. Now I'm probably more like maybe 5 feet, 4 to 5 feet on each side, but we're gonna have okra growing over here on this side, and we're gonna have some sugar cane growing on this side. So since we're dealing with two crops that complement growing watermelons in between them, they can actually grow over to inside the sugar cane and grow over into the okra stalks and not bother the okra at all. Matter of fact, they may help keep the weeds down on the okra until while we're growing them. And then watermelons have a short cycle, whereas the sugar cane are gonna be there for a while, and the okra also will be there till the fall. And so once by the time the sugar cane start really getting off and the okra start getting off to a good start, then the watermelons will be gone anyway. So but ideally, you want to have at least 6 feet on each side to grow your watermelon, so they have room to expand. So we're gonna go ahead and get started planting them. Okay, as you can see, little seedlings have formed a pretty good root system. So that's kind of what you want. So they hopefully ought to get off to a good start, and it's gonna be simple. We're gonna kind of keep it high up in this row because watermelons do better when you kind of plant them in a hill or on a row, so that they benefit from the warmthness of the sun hitting the root system. They can't do that if they sitting flat in the ground. So you can be successful growing them that way, but it just do a little bit better and get off to a better start if you have them kind of in a hill. And that's sometimes why you hear the terminology, plant your watermelons in your hill. So we're gonna kind of develop a little bit of a swell around it, so that water when it rains, or if we have to come through and water them a little bit, then that water be channeled right down to that root system. And we want to kind of do that until the vines start running. Um, and once the vines start running, the only thing we'll need to do is, keep the field clean and keep the weeds out of the field because you don't want the watermelons competing with weeds. All right, y'all, we got our watermelons in the ground, and I think they're good. So the ground is kind of moist, like we may get a little rain, so which is good. And now it's just a waiting game. Uh, just get a time for the watermelons to get established and start growing, and then we'll come back when they what I call starting to bunch up, and you'll see that process when I come back, and then we'll explain the next steps after that. All right, y'all. As promised, we're back. The plant's starting to bunch up, and at the point they starting to bunch up, now I feel comfortable putting a little fertilizer on them, just kind of help them along the way. Um, but let me explain what we got going on as far as the sides of the watermelons. Now, generally, what you want to do is cultivate the sides of your watermelon. If you have, I got a tractor, but my tractor, I can't fit my tractor back in here. So if you have a tiller or some way to till the soil up or cultivate the soil up, to eliminate the weeds, that's going to be your best method to me. Unless you're going to grow them on top of some type of weed fabric, as I mentioned earlier. So what I did is I weeded it down the grass, as you'll see. I cut it down to the kind of like to the bare ground. Then I came back and carefully put some weed kill down on that grass. And I've done this method before, so that's also a method that you can use. Just for time reasons, I just didn't have time. I got a lot going on, so a lot of times when I don't have a whole lot of time to come out here and cultivate it by hand, hoe all this grass up. I have done that. I need to probably get me a little tiller, maybe, but I hadn't gotten that yet. So the best method this go around was for me to just cut it all the way down to the ground, and then put a little weed kill on there. So this will be the point if you do the weed kill method. This is gonna be the point that you have to do it because this is gonna be your last opportunity to be able to spray the grass without harming the vines, because it's not gonna take these vines long to start running. The reason why you want to cut it down to the bare ground, or have bare ground, because you want those vines to kind of attach to the soil, because they will, as the vines grow out over the soil. You want them to have some contact with bare ground, because they will form like a little tap root, and that tap root will kind of help the plant out and help the watermelons out, give a little boost of energy. So you're not taking all the energy from the main root system at the base of the plant. That's the only disadvantage to me of growing, watermelons on top of weed fabric or some kind of a plastic, is they don't have really an opportunity to form those little tap roots that they can form. And then if you ever have a bad windstorm or something like that, then their vines are kind of blow around, and you got to kind of straighten them back out. So until they start to form the watermelons, then they won't move. But anyway, it's always to me a better method to just grow them on top of natural ground if you can. So saying all that, they're looking pretty good. We have hold right around the plant, and we will continue to kind of hold and get and pull the weeds up right around the base of the plant, where we can get it where that main root system is at. So now it's time to do a little fertilizing. So last year I didn't do any fertilizing, but this year I think I'm gonna do a little fertilizing. So if you want to do fertilizer, this will be the chance to start that process. Now that the plant is strong enough to hold some fertilizer, especially if you use a general fertilizer like triple 13. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so we got our watermelons kind of close together, so we're gonna be careful not to over fertilize. Got a little shaker here, and we just gonna, not rocket science, we just gonna do a generous amount right there to the side of the plant. Like I said, it's just gonna give it a little bit of a boost, and we'll come back and shake any fertilizer that fell on the leaves. And when you fertilize, it's always good to cultivate your soil right before you fertilize. Don't ever put fertilizer on hard ground. Always fertilize it, and always make sure the soil is either moist right after a rain, or if you think you're going to get some rain, that is, to me, that's the ideal time to fertilize. go ahead and chop up your ground, get it nice and soft, and then put your fertilizer down, because when you got it nice and soft and chopped up, the fertilizer kind of fall into the grooves of the dirt and won't roll off or move away. And then you get a rainfall right on top of that, it's just going to cause that fertilizer to go ahead and release, and you'll get the best benefit out of your fertilizer. So we're going to keep on doing this here, and we're going to continue going down this road fertilizing, and I think we're in good shape for right now. And then I'll just come back and show you the next step. Okay, y'all, this is June the 13th, so they're looking pretty good. We got the weeds suppressed for right now. I did a little hoeing in here, chopping up, and I've got a little more to do, but I'm gonna definitely try to I'm gonna just pull all those weeds up. But this is a point you really want to try to, this is your last opportunity to get in here and try to pull up any weeds and keep it as weed free as possible. The less weeds the vines can compete with, the better your chances of having some healthy vines and healthy watermelons. Also, what you want to do too is make sure that the vines look healthy, kind of like these are looking. You don't want them to get to a point where they start getting droopy, and you want those the vines to kind of be like a, kind of look like that, kind of be like a like a piece of yarn, some kind of thick. You don't want them to get to the point where they're looking like a shoestring. You want to keep them nice and thick and full of water. Those leaves should look nice and fluffy and healthy. We got a little bit of yellowing in the center. That's kind of typical or normal, but you want to keep those vines nice and healthy, especially at this point where they're starting to put the fruit on, because they have flowered and you'll see the little watermelons growing in there. So you want to, it's vital to keep them watered, and it is a challenge to, give them water and make sure they're healthy without giving them too much water. Because if you water them too much, then it can affect the sweetness of your watermelon. But if you don't keep the vines watered and healthy, you won't have any watermelon. So also, I did a last treatment of triple 13 fertilizer about a couple of days ago. That's how they're looking so far, and we'll be back a little later for an update. Okay, y'all, here it is, first part of July, and so far we got a lot of little small watermelons. We got some second round watermelons that may look like they may have some size on them, but all these first round watermelons are kind of small. But we got a few that may be ripe, so we're gonna pick one and I'll show you what to look for. Okay, so we're gonna pick this one and see how it looks inside. But you first want to look at the little tindle, and there's plenty of videos on how to pick a ripe watermelon. First step you want to do is look at that little tindle at the beginning of the vine. It'll be completely brown like that one is. A lot of times I'll thump the watermelon. If it sounds hollow, that's an indication that that flesh inside is crisp. If you ever eaten a ripe watermelon, the flesh is kind of crisp, but until it gets ripe, it's real spongy, and it'll be kind of, it'll sound solid, when you thump it. But when it sounds kind of hollow, that flesh inside is kind of, crisp and right. That's why you see people thumping them. They're not thumping them for sweetness, and there's no way to really tell if a watermelon gonna be sweet or not. Only if you can only tell if it's gonna be ripe by thumping it. And another thing you can do is just kind of push down on it a little bit. And when you push down on it a little bit, you hear that flesh inside cracking. So that'll be the last test that I do. So I think it's pretty safe to pull this one. Another thing you can do is turn it over, and you'll notice that the backside of it will be a little yellow. Uh, so they are ripe. I've actually eaten a couple of these watermelons, and they are very sweet and very sweet. So far, not much size on them, but like I say, they are very sweet. Put them in the, they can. I like the fact they can put them in the refrigerator, and so this is a mountain sweet yellow meat. All right, y'all, we're gonna wrap up the video, but I really had a good time growing these watermelons. I've enjoyed them. They were very sweet. Well, not all of them were very sweet, but we had quite a bit of them that were very sweet, and so the quality was very good. We didn't have any big ones this year. I was a little shocked at that. I do have a couple out there in the field that are a little bit bigger than these. It may get a little size on them, but they're not quite ready yet. But overall, though, I feel like we were very successful, and I really enjoyed these, and I hope this encourages you to grow watermelons, grow the yellow meat varieties. So we're gonna plant this one again next year, and then I'm gonna plant another yellow meat variety, and I may do a video on that one. So we're gonna see if we can do something a little bit different to get some bigger watermelons that are sweet. And I think what we're gonna try differently, we're gonna put them in a whole nother section of my garden and put them in a new area, because watermelons really need to be put in an area that has at least rested for 1 year. So we're gonna do that, and I'm gonna plant them probably 4 feet apart and not plant them so tight. And we're gonna, keep up the same fertilizer schedule, and we're gonna see, what we get next time. But I really appreciate y'all for watching, and please subscribe.